The winter time was approaching on the island of Sodor. Yes, that's right, folks. That time of year is coming when you can see your own breath. One day, the engines were sitting around the turntable when Edward came by. He pulled up to the turntable to ask the engines a question. "A goods train needs to be taken on such short notice," said Edward. "Who here is available?" Thomas, Henry, James, and Percy all said, "Not me." But Duck and Oliver stayed quiet. "You two, you're the only ones available." "But Edward, we don't want to take the train. Why don't you take the train, huh? Why don't you do something for a change?" "I'm busy, now go." Soon Duck and Oliver got to the train. It was a really long goods train that needed to be taken as an emergency. "Ugh, I don't want to take this train." "Me neither," said Oliver, "but we have to, right?" Then, just what they needed, Bill and Ben pulled up to them. "Hey Bill, I don't think they're strong enough to take this train." "I agree, Ben." "Slow your roll there, Munchkins," said Oliver. "You know what? Since you're so strong, I'd like to see you try. Why don't you give it a try, Now, you see, we would, but the way our laziness is set up, no, I don't really think so." "You twins are so aggravating, I swear." "You know what?" said Duck. "Why don't we get the show on the road? Shall we, Oliver?" "Why, yes, we shall." The two engines struggled. Their pistons were pumping. Their wheels were slipping. The trucks were shaking. And then finally, they moved. We're actually doing it. Goodbye, you little hobknocker twins. The engines were putting all their effort into it. "It's either the Great Western Way or the wrong way," chanted Duck. But soon they came to a stop because Gordon was in their way. And by the time Gordon was finished, it was already dark out. He had stopped because he had run out of coal, but they gave him more eventually. The two engines pulled into Knapford just to deliver a few things. "Wow," teased Henry. "I'm surprised you two are even strong enough to pull that long and heavy goods train." But Oliver wasn't about to be beaked by Henry. "You know what, Henry? At least we're not going to fall into a ravine like you did when you were pulling the flying kipper. Are we? No, right? Now goodbye and thank you." But the two engines continued on with their night after that. But of course, there was trouble ahead. Mavis had broken down underneath the drawbridge, and the drawbridge was still lifted up. Not only that, but the drawbridge was in front of Oliver and Duck's line. But it was dark, so the Great Western engines couldn't see, and all of a sudden, disaster finally struck. The train lay everywhere. It was a huge mess. The mess was cleared up, but Duck and Oliver were severely injured. Duck was even in pieces. They could be fixed, but it was going to take a long time. So maybe an engine, or maybe even two, would have to come to replace them for a little while.